Yeah, I think I'm gonna just cut to the chase and get into the how to invite to the webinar. You guys, the webinar is a great resource, and Josh talked about the why too, and he was so right. You have to have a will to actually use the resources. Shaq said that the best recruiters use all the resources available to them. And I won't interview, but I will recognize Jenny, Bao, Rochelle. They use Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever social media on a consistent basis and post on our team thread literally every morning before I even get to text the team, which is unheard of, right? Historically, usually I'm the first one to text and get up, and now it's like Shug's up, Brandon's up, Jenny's up, Rochelle's up. It's like it's a competition of who can send 20 messages before the other person. It's pretty cool. But if you just send 20 messages in the morning, people are going to wake up to that message. So it's true. You don't want to care about what people say. And I have to share a story here because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, guys. Okay. I'm going to talk really fast, so hopefully you catch this story. I was driving, before I got my actual car, I was driving a rental, for those of you guys who know my story. And we were just partnered with Vivint as a company. And I was so excited to see a Vivint truck in at the red light next to me. So I scrolled my window down and I was like, our opportunity in general is just better than any company's opportunity. So why not just recruit the Vivint guy, right? So I got his number and I stopped him at the stop sign. The light turned green. I was like, yo, what's your number? He just like spat out his number, called him, ended up doing a one-on-one, finds out he's married with 3 kids. And I ended up going to do a max case and recruited both husband and wife. Think about it, at a red light, guys. And it was literally like a split second, like Josh said. So don't be scared to talk to people. The worst they can do is say no, and you'll never see them ever again. And even if you do, they're still stuck at their job. Okay, so your process and your future outlook is a lot better than most people, if not everyone. But you can't care what people think about you, especially the people that are broker than you. Okay, if they're broker than you, don't listen to them. Don't care what they have to say. Shaq said, if you listen to broke people, then you will be broke. You start working with projects all the time, you will end up in the projects all the time. So be careful who you listen to. My best friend, she's pretty successful in the corporate world, makes 6 figures, and her wedding is coming up. I didn't tell her to move her wedding dinner, but I was like, no, I have a meeting with my VP. I'm not going to show up to dinner at that time. She was like, what? And we got into it, right? Not like, very rudely or anything, but I stood my ground and I said, no, I have a meeting where he's not moving and I'm not moving and I'm going to make it to my my meeting, and my team needs me. And she goes, you know what? Fine. I'll move my dinner down. Listen to that. My best friend moved her wedding dinner down. So because I was serious about what I do. Most people wouldn't even ask or wouldn't even stand their ground. People don't take you seriously because you don't take yourself seriously, right? So when you invite people to you got to stand your ground. You are the one with the opportunity. They're not. Okay, they're stuck to where they are. That's why they went to the webinar in the first place. That's why they answered your DM in the first place. That's why they opened up your DM in the first place. Be assumptive when you're prospecting people. They need you. You don't need them. Okay. So very good information from Shondell and Josh. Let me share my screen so you guys can see this. And I've been screenshotting because, I don't write as fast. So those of you guys who are just like me and talk faster than you write, I suggest you screenshot as well and review this on the YouTube channel. If you haven't followed us, follow us on the YouTube channel, The Standard Hierarchy. So the webinar process is, just as good as sending the video out that Shaq had invested in as far as the animation video. But today I'm going to talk about the webinar. So it's really just 3 steps, guys. It's how to set up the invite, meaning getting them into the webinar, how to confirm them for the webinar, and then how to actually do the follow-up to close them after the webinar. It's just those 3 steps and then a few steps within those steps. So how do you set up the invite? So if you don't know what the Steam script is, ask your upline, your next competent upline. So when you use the Steam script, you're just looking for a specific type of person. Most of the time, people are going to get to the end of that Steam script once you get them on the phone. And at the end of that script, they say, great, this is something I'd be interested in. I say, okay, great, Shondell, I would love to meet with you one-on-one, but our interview is a 2-part process. First, we have to have you sit through our VP Shaquille's webinar. That way you can get all the information you need to form the question based on what you are looking for. Afterwards, we will then meet for a 15-minute follow-up interview to see if there's a mutual interest. Fair? Shondell agrees. that's when I go into scheduling them for the webinar. Now, I never give them these 3 times. As you see, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time. Just pick 2 guys that you want them to choose from that work in your schedule for the follow-up, okay? So I usually pick 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. because 7 p.m. I'm in QAs, but if you don't have QAs as often right now, then, you know, it's kind of free game. So just pick 2 that fit for you and be consistent. So great, Shondell. We'll be using the Webinar Jam technology. It will be at 10 a.m. 2 p.m. Eastern time with my VP Shaquille, which works better for you, 2 p.m. or 7 p.m. I will send you a confirmation email. So she goes, 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. She goes 10 a.m. Great, I'll send you a confirmation email. You will also get an email from Shaquille Islam with the webinar link. When you receive the link, I highly recommend that you save the email so you have it ready. What is your email, by the way? They give you the email. Great, I will give you a courtesy call beforehand to make sure you were able to receive my email. That's all. So you set the expectation that they're going to hear from you again, just to ensure that they have everything correct to hop on there. But really, you're not just checking that they got the webinar link, you're just checking if they're actually going to show up, right? Now, when you confirm in the morning of, before the 10 o'clock or before the 2 or before the 7 p.m., you confirm the morning of and you say, hey, Shondell, hi, this is Jennifer Lee. We spoke the other day. How are you? Great. I'm just calling to confirm if you received the link to your 10 a.m. webinar. Okay. She says yes. Great. I found out that our VP is not going to be answering any questions because he wants to keep it short for everyone. However, I have some time at 11 a.m. right after or 11:30 a.m. to do our follow-up on Zoom. Which works better for you, 11 or 11:30 a.m.? She goes 11:30. Awesome. Enjoy the webinar. I look forward to meeting you afterwards. I'll go ahead and send you my Zoom link right after you're done with the webinar. That's how to confirm. So all you're doing is just setting the tone and making sure that, you know, there's the next steps, next steps, next steps. When you're working with a new potential recruit or even a client, there always has to be a next step. So what's the next step? Mastering the follow-up. So just to go into a little bit more detail, listen, their Zoom etiquette is so important, guys. Some people, they say, oh, they're interested. They get on the Zoom with you, but then you're not dressed or your background is a mess. You got to make sure that your background and your dress is equal and matching the type of tone that you're giving them on the phone. Because remember, when you call them, they don't know what you look like, guys. They think that you're this 6 foot tall, you know, boss lady, boss man, and you've been doing this for 30 years or whatnot because you're so professional on the phone. But when you get on Zoom, you want your appearance to match that voice as well. So make sure your dress code's nice, right? For those of you guys who don't have good breath, lucky for you, we're on Zoom. Just joking, right? Background has to be nice. And make sure your resources are available. Make sure the right websites are already pulled up so that when you share your screen with them, if you need to, by answering any questions, then it's already there for you. Make sure your Wi-Fi is put together. You know, what kind of business owner would have, you know, not good Wi-Fi, right? So you want to make sure your Wi-Fi is also consistent. They can have spotty Wi-Fi, but make sure you're good to go. You also want to stay in the warm market if possible. Shondell went over that because the more warm the person is, the less objections the potential recruit will give you. So credibility is very important. But when you have that follow-up, guys, this follow-up has to be done, not maybe, not sometimes, it has to be done ASAP, right after the expansion webinar or right after they view that video, right? So make sure that you follow up ASAP. If you take too much time in between the follow-up, their excitement just starts getting killed. So people are at a high as soon as they see the information and the opportunity, but you want to make sure you follow up ASAP. Now, what does the follow-up entail? Only these steps right here you see at the bottom. It's 4 questions, then it's your personal story, it's 4 prerequisites, then close for the IBA. Make it simple and be assumptive. Be assumptive how? Assume that they're ready to move forward with you. You just want to keep going until they stop you, okay? If they do. So what's the follow-up first 4 questions? This is what Alex and I go over, Ginny goes over, and Bao goes over. I'm sure Shondell and Josh have a very similar process, if not 3 out of 4 of these questions. So Shondell gets on the follow-up and she's excited. I go, hey, Shondell, great. Hey, how was the webinar? What interested you most? Helping people, making money, or both? She goes, both. Great. what's one thing that really struck out to you from the webinar? She may say, oh my gosh, the 4 quadrants or like the 4 ways to make money. That was so awesome. I've never heard that before. Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate your motivation to get licensed in Virginia with us? So I just put their state, right? She goes a 10. Now, if she says an 8, I go, great. An 8, what would take it to a 10? Most people, they're going to explain to you, I just need to learn more as I go along, which also means learning on the job, guys. So that's all that means. So do you have any questions, Shondell, or you just want to know how we would get started? You want the, I want to know how we would get started, but they still might have questions, okay? So do you have any questions, or you just want to know how we would get started? Let's assume they have questions. Answer their questions, and after you answer all their questions and they're ready to get started, just tell your 2-minute story. And then you go into prerequisites. And your 2-minute story should be only I was, I am, I'm going. So what are the prerequisites? Once you tell your story, I always hit them with, hey, even though that's my story, it will never be your story. Everyone is different. And even though our company is really great, there are 4 prerequisites that I need for you to be committed to if you want this to work. So 1, you cannot have a criminal background. Do you have any felonies in the past 10 years that may come up from a background check? No? Great. Second, there are 2 tests that you're going to have to be committed to take. The first one is called life insurance and annuities. The second one is called securities, AKA the investment license. Each of these tests are 100 questions, multiple choice, and you need to score 70% or more. So if you were a C student or above in school, then you'll be fine. There is studying material online that we will give you access to, but because this is a state exam, a state license that you're going to be acquiring, Shondell, then this is something that you can walk away from our company with. Hopefully you don't, but that's why we only pay 90% of the cost and you're responsible for $124. So is $124 going to be an issue today for your studying materials? They say no. Great. So the last commitment I need from you is your Saturday mornings. From Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., that's going to be your classroom group trainings, specifically with Shaquille Islam for your certification training. Is that going to be a conflict for you for Saturday mornings? No? Great. I'm going to go ahead and pull up your application. I need you to have your ID, and I'm going to ask you some criminal questions, okay? Awesome. Then you register them for the next upcoming new associate webinar. So I know that I move really fast, you guys, through that because we're really short on time. But hopefully that's a very systematic step-by-step process. But remember, if these are all great things to know, you can take notes all day, but then after the webinar, you get back to your old life, your problems are still waiting for you, okay? They're still at the door waiting for you. When you leave this webinar, it's not back to your old life. You can go ahead and either make a decision one day or make this day one. So make this day one of actually using the resources, and just like our base shop under Shaq is, but the hierarchy, the whole hierarchy, we have to work together to use the webinars and the other resources and what Shondell and Josh went over so that we can go ahead and get Shaq to the next diamond and all your RVPs on the next diamond movement as well. So any questions, guys?
Hey, Jen, can you check the waiting room? I think some people got kicked off and then had to get back in.
Oh. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Use Blueprint. Yeah, any question, guys? If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. And Jen, you could probably stop recording now if you want.
Oh yeah, that's right.